hand turned to the left, and by glory and dishonor, by evil report and good report, regarded as deceivers and yet not true, unknown to the well-known, dying yet be living, punished and yet not put to death, and as sorrowful yet always rejoicing, as poor yet making rich, and as having nothing possessing all things. Well, if you're joining us from reading through this 90-day reading plan, today's reading is 1 Chronicles 21, 28 through 54. I encourage you to read that passage. Well, today we're going to look at the results of Abraham's failure to trust God and succumbing to the wisdom of man. In Genesis chapter 12, Abraham is given a promise that he will ultimately be the father of many nations. When he and Sarah became so old that they could not have natural children, he took it upon himself, under Sarah's advice, to sleep with a woman who was not Sarah. As he'd been promised that the descendants would become great, Ishmael became part of that promise. When Isaac was born, Ishmael became useless to Sarah and yet still loved by Abraham. But now there was a problem. Two people could claim that they were the rightful heirs of Abraham's promise from God. And this has resulted in the situation that we have today. The Arabs and the Jews are both claiming that they are the ones who came up with the promise, and therefore they are the ones that have the right to the land that we call Palestine. Our actions always result in some kind of historical event. That event occurred cannot be taken away. It may be good, bad, or reasonably neutral consequences, but it can never be taken back. In the same way, our sins, which we have been forgiven for, if we have a relationship with Christ, can never be undone. There's no way that we can undo history. Well, this is why it's very important that we endeavor each moment to live our lives in purity and with a focus on God. Our sin causes people who do not have a relationship with God to look poorly on both us and God. In other words, we scandalize the church and God when we sin, and we bring Him and praise when we do it right. Well, it's important that we understand our history. It's important that we understand the mistakes that people made in the history. And it's important that we understand the correct choices that we make and were made in history. God gives us history so that we might not make the same mistakes and we might copy the right things that have been done throughout time.